Hi everyone, this is Michelle from Michelle Moderne. I hope you're all keeping busy and safe. I wanted to just pop on here and do a quick video. I was designing something with 6/0 seed beads and I decided to use a core. So I thought, hey, let me show everybody how to use a core. And then I thought, well, let's also discuss the different size ropes that can be made with different size seed beads and why you would actually use a core with 6/0 seed beads. So first off, let me show you this project that a necklace that I made with a pattern with a Kumihimo app, and I used 8/0 seed beads, which is the most common type of seed beads to use in Kumihimo since they're very easy to load. They really create a lovely texture and flexibility in the rope, and you don't see too much thread when using them, and they do not require a core. The cord is woven inside of the braid and the beads on the outside. So that's a typical 8/0 size, which is about 7.5 to 8 millimeters. I think it's a perfect size for around the neck. And then this is just the focal section here that I created with different check beads and fire polish and 6/0 seed beads. So this is a typical 8/0. Just recently I finished this project that I was inspired by the Roaring Twenties. It's called Great Gatsby, and this necklace features a variety of beads where you can put the cords through. I did use Tex 135, which is a smaller cord. In terms of the Esson Ceylon brands, there's 4 different cords that you can use. There's a Tex 70, which is the smallest, then 135, then the 210, which is the most common, and then there's the heaviest, which is 400. So when using 11/0s, I can't really string them on a 210. I can string them on a 135, and that's what I used to string them. And this rope size typically is about 5.5 millimeters. You can see that. For this necklace, I really wanted it to be smaller, so that's why I went with the smaller size. I also went with the smaller size because it's easier to string 7 of the small 135s through beads. And I did string all the way up through the beads for this project. So that's the 11/0s. You can also do 15/0s, but I have never done that myself. Maybe I'll do a new video about that. For this necklace, I used a fill the gap technique, which is 7 cords, and I did use Tex 135. Typically when I do fill the gap, you use check seed beads, and it's easier to get a Tex 135 through something like a drop here, or sometimes some other smaller hold beads. So that's why I typically use a Tex 135 when using the fill the gap or 7-strand technique. And this rope measures about 7 millimeters. So that is smaller than the 8/0, but larger than the 11/0. And that's the 7-strand. This necklace I made with a combination of 6/0s and 8/0s, and I did not use a core. I felt that the 8/0s helped to keep the structure, and it's not too squishy because it goes in between each of the 6/0 sections. So that's why I didn't use a core in this 6/0. So now I wanted to show you, I made up a little sample of a 6/0 with no core in the middle, and I wanted to show you the size hole that it makes. As you can see, it's a pretty large hole. I mean, I would say that's about 3 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters. Yeah, no, actually, it's a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's about 3-4 millimeters hole. And what that does is it just makes it a little more squishier, so the beads can actually move around on your rope. And you don't really want the beads to be like one to be pushed inside, one to be pushed outside. So that is why for this project that I'm doing, I decided to use the core. So what can you use for a core? Typically you could use, people use rat tail for a core, 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter for the core. You could use wire for your core. You could use any variety of, 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter type of fabric. And for this case, I'm actually using some extra S-line because I have an idea that I want to use for this design. So that's why I have, these are the S-lines that are actually acting as the core. And then as you see, the rest of the 8 strands are the typical Kangogumi setup. So what do you do for a core? So I have actually woven this core in from the very beginning. I just sort of tied a knot down way down here, and it's hard to see, but I tied a knot way down here and just wove it in the same process that I'm going to show you, and just it's come up through the whole middle of the braid. So what you do is you keep your core down on the bottom of your disc between the 2 south positions down here, and we're just going to do regular Kangogumi, top right down, bottom left up, making sure the core is kept in the very middle. Then when you turn your disc counterclockwise, you also then move your core with you down to the bottom. And that's it. That's the big trick. You just keep on going with top right down, bottom left up, turn your disc, and don't forget to take your core with you as well, and just keep it in the middle here. So top right down, bottom left up, and turn. Now, what does a 6/0 produce? Well, for this case, because the core is a little thicker, this is coming out to be about 11.5. But the one that I showed you before, without any core at all, is about 11. So it does make it a little bit thicker of a braid. I'm not going to be using a whole lot of this. I'm going to be changing up the sections a little bit, but that's the basics of how to incorporate a core into your work when you are using 6/0s. You can certainly do the same thing with the 8/0s or any other, but just be, bear in mind that's going to make your rope much thicker. So hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks a lot.